synthesizers, groove boxes. Visit Patchwerks in Seattle and online at patchwerks.com.
Hey, how's it going? This is Matthew from Patchwerks. We're back with another episode of Patchwerks Live, the synthesizer show that we put on here in Seattle every Friday at 3 o'clock on YouTube. Today we're going to have a look at two Modbap eurorack modules. And this is my first day jumping into them. I feel like I've gotten to know them decently well in the last couple of hours. I feel like I can explain them to you now. And I like them quite a bit. And I really like what Modbap did with this module, and allow me to explain. But first, let me tell you about these two modules and what they are and why it's cool, why they're great. So the Modbap Trinity, it says up here at the top, it might be hard to read on YouTube, but it says Digital Drum Synth Array. And I think what they mean by drum synth array is that you have 3 channels and 4 different voicing styles to choose from, and you can put them on any channel. And not just can you put them on any channel, but you can actually cycle between those drum synth algorithms on the channels themselves, which is pretty cool and makes for some very unique rhythms, and or just the rhythms would be the same, but I mean it makes for some unique drum sounds in your rhythms because they're just changing all the time based on their triggers doing round robin. I'm going to take this jacket off. So I'll demonstrate this stuff for you. I have a little beat kind of programmed in here right now using this ASQ1 by ALM, which I find to be a very fun and easy to use sequencer. However, I do find myself forgetting some of the shortcuts on it just because I don't use it all the time. But I do like it for its immediacy. It's just so fast to use. So right now I have a pattern going on the ASQ1. I have some clock actually coming from the OP1 field. And that's just because I wanted to have some really easy access to also playing some auxiliary sounds from the OP1 field. But really I wanted access to the clock because the ASQ1, in the manual, it even says that it recommends that you use an external clock. And so that's what I'm doing. And now I have control over the BPM very easily here with the OP1 field. I'm using a USB-C to MIDI adapter through a CV-OCD and taking taking transport and reset from the CV-OCD, plugging that right into the ASQ1. So I'm not really be doing much on the OP1 field, but it is going to be dictating our tempo. So I'm gonna hit play. We have some auxiliary melodic elements, kind of a bass line with some plucks coming from Beehive. I use it in every demonstration almost because I'll tell you why. Because it's a macro oscillator. It just has so many different synth voices in it, built-in envelope generator. You can change the octave on it very quickly. It stays in tune because it's digital oscillator. Just everything about it makes it really great for doing presentations and being an accompaniment with anything else. So this is Platts. Beehive is Platts by Mutable Instruments. This is a clone of it and just a smaller form factor. And of course, with After Later Audio's aesthetic. So you heard some drums. I can take the synth voice out and we'll just hear the drums. This is being processed into Hue. This is the color processor that Modbap came up with. It's really easy to use, and that's actually my favorite part about the color processor is that it's so simple to use. It really does have a lot of parameters. I think it's 6 HP, and you have your filter, you have a tape, and a LoFi setting here. And then if you hit the shift button, I know it doesn't tell you that you've hit shift, but if we had some parameters engaged, like I hit shift here, we do it again, you could hear that. You might be able to hear it if you had headphones on, but there's some ground floor that just got brought up to an audible level. We can bring that back down. So when you hit shift, you go between the 2 different encoder values that you're able to change. So when it's blue, we're adjusting the tone, and on this one, we're adjusting the intensity of the tape, and on this one, we're adjusting the actual bit depth from the LoFi, so how much bit reduction is happening. So really simple, really easy. It's a monophonic processor, so you would need two of these if you wanted to do any sort of stereo processing. But the Trinity is a monophonic drum synthesizer anyway. But don't let that discourage you from jumping into a Trinity, because you have individual outs for each one of the drum synths. So you can, if you want panning and control of all those parameters, then you can just take the individual outs. So this is actually a pretty decently complex module, and I'm going to do my best to go over all the features, and hopefully it will excite you into looking further into it yourself. Maybe watching some more videos after this one. So, as I like to do during all these streams, I have manuals pulled up on my computer because that is a smart thing to do. I do recommend everybody read your manuals when you buy new synthesizers. It is a great thing to do. I have been through this manual over the last 2 hours, and there's still more for me to read as I've dug into the Trinity and the manual. But let's talk about the first algorithm. You're able to audition the different drum synth voices by hitting these triggers. So you see these 3 triggers. I have another camera view too, if that's helpful at all. I know these, what are you gonna do? Patch cables are in the way a bit, but you can see those trig selection there. If you hold shift, you get access to the blue text there. And so if I hold shift and hit these, I will select the channel that I want to work on. When you select a channel, all of these knobs become how you adjust that channel. And then you also select the synth voice that you want to work on. So if I'm on channel 1, holding shift and hitting 1, I'm now looking at this first synth voice. I know I'm blocking it again. And that one, the synth voice, is called block. This is their classic drum synth voice. This is a classic synthesis for making drums. The sine wave triangle core synthesis with a pitch envelope. So it's the sweep parameter. All these parameters, they say like sweep, decay, hold, all those are the very correct names for all the parameters that would work with this synth voice. Whereas when you switch over to some of the other drum voices, some of these words like time or sweep don't actually maybe sweep the parameter so much, and they're just a name on the panel, but they represent another parameter. But in block, they are all accurately named here. So let's check it out. I can audition it. I'm pretty sure you should be able to hear it all right. And I do think it sounds good. Let's play with some of the parameters here. This is something else to mention just right off the bat is you can see this button here. It says save, and then it says restore. Sorry. I thought it said reload, but it says restore. So it's save and restore, and reload and is kind of would work too as well. But you're able to save a drum voice, and then you can alter it and then restore it. So if you liked it how it was, but you want to see what it could sound like doing some other things, you can actually go back to those drum voices, which is a cool feature to have in here. Also, something to mention is that this is a fully MIDI capable synthesizer. You use USB micro for your MIDI, and you have all the CC parameters listed in the manual. So I was looking at that and I was like, man, this is really cool. I thought about using the OP1 to try and sequence this, but the two worlds are so vastly different that it's really hard to integrate these two together. So I hope everyone can hear the stream well, and hopefully we've got some folks hanging out with us here. Let me just double check on the channel, make sure our volumes are all good. All right, cool. So, all right, let's get into some sound design on the block synth voice. We're looking at it right here. We can adjust the pitch, of course, which is going to be our fundamental pitch of our synth voice. Sorry, I'm just pulling the manual up so I can really say the correct things about this. So I can adjust my synth voice. As you heard, it snapped. Like, it didn't make sense that it jumped to the pitch it did when I just mildly adjusted this. And that's just representative of how this synth array works, because I was on a channel that previously this potentiometer was adjusting another synth voice, so it had to snap back to, or it had to snap to the location of the potentiometer on the current synth voice. So that could be kind of fun. I think that'll probably be interesting to get you to some sounds that you didn't expect. I also found that the Trinity is a great just like bassline synthesizer or lead synthesizer. It doesn't have to do drums. These synth engines work really well, and it has volt per octave tracking. So you can actually make a fully polyphonic synthesizer out of this with your 3 volt per octaves here and do triads. Okay, back on our kick drum. Here's our sweep parameter. I'm gonna turn up the decay here so we can really hear this. So this is the time is attached to the sweep parameter. You can see there's a little white line here saying these two work together. So this is how long it takes for this sweep to reach its full sweep. We also have an EQ, which seems to be like a bandpass filter. Not quite sure exactly what's going on with the EQ, but it sounds to me like a bandpass filter. And then we have volume per voice. If I can turn this up. It starts distorting a little bit. It's nice. It's got some nice rumble to it. Clipper is a wave shaper. It will increase the amount of harmonics. It's a distortion. And then hold is our hold time for our envelope. So we have this all the way open like this. It's an infinite drone. And here you can, right now you can hear that this is a very much a synthesizer. I guess it doesn't drone infinitely, but for a while. So character adjusts the main synth parameter on all of your synth voices. That is the description of it. It almost sounds like there's some reverb happening there, but there's not. That's a part of the synthesis. So character actually mixes it between a sine wave and a triangle wave, and it will create some aliasing in between the two so that you'll get some clickier sounds. But we're also running it into hue, so we could take advantage of that. Well, hue has a compressor on it. We could turn that compression up. Get the drive going. Oh, we gotta switch over to the actual drive here. Actually, it sounds kind of like the analog rhythm when I drive that. And then this tape saturation. And then we have bit reduction. All of these parameters can be adjusted via CV. These two modules work really well together. I think it would be really cool to actually have a Trinity and 3 hues, one for each one of the drum outputs. Because then you would have some really interesting voicing you could do. Get a nice complex sequencer with lots of CV outputs and just go nuts with that. That'd be a good time for sure. Okay, let me tell you a little bit more about block. I know we're triggering it. We're listening to these parameters. Sounds good. There's CV control over pretty much every parameter. Not all the parameters, but most of the parameters per voice, which is great. So grit is a control that's, like I said, these controls are different for different synthesizers. For this synthesizer, for the block, the basic kick drum synthesizer, basic drum synthesizer, but most effective for kick drums, I would say, introduces FM noise. It says above 75% it starts to mix the main oscillator and mix in just the noise. while keeping some of the main oscillator's signal. A short envelope gets even shorter relative to the decay time. The closer to 100% grit, a useful function for making 808 like snappy snares. Oh, cool. All right. There's those 808 snappy snares. We just went from a kick drum to a snare without adjusting the pitch, the sweep, or anything, just by using grit and decay. Back into our kick. Cool. So that's the block synthesizer. There's 3 more for us to look at, but I also want to talk about some other features here on the Trinity. So we have the ability to cycle through the different drum voices. So per channel, you select cycle. The first one is going to cycle the parameters, I believe. Oh, it's cycling the drum voices themselves. So it's cycling through the 4 different algorithms. The second time you press it, it's going to randomly adjust the parameters on your selected drum voice. Or no, I got it wrong. This is cycling through the different drum voices. As you can see, it's going kind of crazy. Yes, so this one's staying on the drum parameter, but we're staying on the drum synth that we've selected and adjusting the parameters. They're both really cool. I like that you can do it per voice. So that sounds pretty nutty. Also useful to not use it too. And then on the right here, we have stack. So what stack does is allows you to take drum voice 2 and drum voice 3 and sum them all down to drum voice 1. So we get 3 different channels, but they all come out of the same output and they all use the same trigger. So this is for making more complex drum sounds. You can just turn Trinity into a single voice, but using 3 different choice algorithms from 4 different offers of algorithms, if that makes sense. So pretty cool. Pretty cool that they let you do that. All right, let's talk about another one of the drum synth algorithms. I'm going to select a new one here, holding shift, selecting track 2, and moving on to this next drum voice. And this one is called Heap. This is an additive synthesizer. So Heap is an additive 12 partial synth voice. So you're stacking partials on top of each other. Character controls a detune spread of the 12 oscillators. And pitch, of course, adjusts the pitch. And sweep is the envelope depth, much like block. And decay adjusts the envelope decay time. And time controls the speed of the pitch sweep, same as block again. And shape controls the distance between the oscillator's exponentiality. Can be used for bell-like timbres. So this is what the manual says. Let's have a listen to that. Cool. So I'm actually just going to pull these triggers out right here, and we're just going to listen to just this snare go so that I can... Oh, it was still triggering them. Okay, here we go. So here's my snare engine right now. Or not snare engine, my heap engine making a snare. Here's character adjusting the spread of the 12 oscillator partials. Sweep for our envelope sweep. Depth. So this is the heap additive engine. It's got the wave folder. These parameters are the same on all of the engines. All right. Interesting sound. Let's check out another engine. All right, I'm switching over to Neon. This is an FM synth engine. So this makes great sounding drums, of course. We know FM synthesis does awesome drum sounds. So character controls the modulation depth, which turns into feedback at higher values. So that's an important note. Which your biggest knobs is going to have a really big timbre adjustment. And then pitch and sweep do the same as they did on the other synth voices. Grit adds feedback in addition to also introducing a noisy impact oscillator, which goes into full noise at high values. We'll check that out. And shape is the adjustment of the FM ratio. Sounds like an FM synth engine. The bell tone. So you can hear how this could just be your synthesizer too. Technically, you could just use this module and probably get away with a lot. Don't need too many more. So you have a lot of sound design potential in this engine alone. All of them are quite powerful. This FM engine is impressive. Here's the noise it was talking about once you go fully clockwise with grit. EQ kind of sounds like a DJ filter. Well, this sounds good. I like it. All right, and the next engine is called Arcade. Arcade is an 80s arcade style synthesizer. So, you know, a nice lo-fi synth. 8-bit probably, I imagine. And controls a bandpass. So character controls a bandpass filter, very useful for making clap sounds or getting a nice tone from the noise. Useful in multiple applications and pairs well with the EQ. Good to know. What else do we need to know about this one? Sweep controls the number of ratchets. Sweep controls the number of ratchets. So as I turn sweep up, it's going to start hitting itself over and over again. So one trigger is going to sound like more than one trigger. That is in fact true. So if I turn sweep all the way down, it sounds like just one trigger. And time is the amount or the time between those cycles. It's like the length parameter on sample playback, even though it's not a sample. it's working in that way. So if you put these both down to 0, you just get a single hit. So if you're looking for a single hit there, and you're confused why it's ratcheting, that's why. All right, let's bring the sequence back in. What sounds like some car plus strong happening. Really short delays on our last engine here, the arcade engine. All right, let's play with hue a little bit more and let's start doing some modulation. So we have a high pass, low pass filter at the top here on hue. I could bring my reverb up. Would have been a good time to take a kick drum out and bring it back in, I think. Make sure we're not flipping the screen. Looks like we're doing all right. What's up, Chet? Chet? Cool. Alright, so this combo, like I said, it's pretty sick. I have an LFO coming from Rainier being molted here with these buffered molts. And if I want, I can put it through an attenuator. Actually, probably should take this attenuated version and buffered molt that, because I don't have too many LFOs here. I don't want to play with that bit reduction, because that's a really fun sound to mess with. Sounds like, to me, we need some modulation on this filter. You know, it might be pretty cool to modulate the filter. Might actually be the CV output on the second track from the ASQ1. here. I'm just using the regular volt per octave output, which is quantized, of course, to these notes, but we have a pretty wide range of voltage, so I'm just programming some stepped voltage to modulate this filter. You can see that modulation happening. It's turning pink here. Let's let this hi-hat do some random stuff. We'll stop our sequence, select our hi-hat. Yeah, there's a lot of noise happening right now. That's because of Q is really coloring just our ground floor because the compressor's turned up. Turn that down a little bit. And let's switch this to cycle. Sick. I like this a lot. Let's see. Let's see if we can do that. Oops. Okay. Record something. Let's do that again. We are using the new velocity mode on the OP1 field here. So the OP1 field now has velocity sensitivity using its gyroscope. Never been done on any other synthesizer that I can think of. I almost nailed this, but my timing is still a little bit off. Let's go ahead and give this main track like some reverb or something. Whoops. We can make this some dub techno. I feel like this is actually a pretty cool pattern that we have going. All right, let's turn this guy down real quick. It's that tape saturation. It's really noisy, but I mean, that's the whole point of tape, right? We want to hear that crinkly, whispery noise that analog tape brings. Yeah, it turned out pretty good, right? Right, Jet Li? That name always confuses me. I don't know which one we're going for. But it did. It turned out pretty good. So, big fan of the Modbap Trinity so far. Okay, now that we've heard like some drum stuff, and that will be in this video, and I'll leave this up for anybody to watch and listen to the Modbap Trinity. I kind of want to know what this thing sounds like when it does melodic stuff. So maybe we sacrifice this hi-hat track. No, we don't have to sacrifice the hi-hat track. Let's just take this out from the filter and run that into the volt per octave here. Let's see what happens. Back up. Turn it all the way up. It's a very gentle compression, I've noticed. Turning it all the way up is not that much more than just having it up halfway. This up. Okay, let's go to this sequencer here. Let's go. Find this acid synthesizer in here. Okay, shift, make sure we're on that one. Okay, we'll go over to this one. Let's put in like something. It is fun to explore the Trinity as a melodic synth voice. If I do, maybe if I turn hold all the way up and decay all the way up, it'll drone. Not quite. Pretty cool bass voice. The most unhinged, you say? I think your fax machine might be broken. Okay, what I want to, I need a gate. We want a gate. Open the gates. We have this gate going here. What have I been triggering this gate with? Oh, with number 3. We'll have it match the actual full per octave now, because we weren't doing that before. I really like what Beehive is doing with the chorus on it. I think that sounds really good. All right, I kind of want to take this and have it sound like something a little bit more polished. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start back over at my kick drum and work on it until I like it. I'm going to turn all these parameters down. And there we go. Make sure I'm selected on that one. Got it nice and loud. Nice clean kick. Okay, so I'm good with that. Let's go, let's try and make a little bit of a little techno or something. Oh, whoops, dang it. I want to be over here, number 4, there we go. Let's just make this shorter for now. That sounded cool. Sick. Okay, let's get a snare going. Get these out of here. Let's just have it be a little shorter. Hey. Oh, that's why. Just hitting the wrong button. Okay, here we go. Select your snare. Got some cool tones. Alright, we're gonna go back to using, this is our gate. I always do that. beat. OP1, how many, whoops, turn that back on. There we go. All right, that was sick. Actually, I had a really great time. There's not even that many modules here. You know what I really like is taking a couple great modules and putting them into a smaller skiff rather than a really large skiff, and then just going nuts on that. People like to call it their concentration skiff, or there's another name people like to use for it, where they take their favorite modules and put them all together. But maybe we should just always do that. I don't know. But that turned out pretty great. So yeah, this is the Trinity by Modbap, the Digital Synth Array, and Digital Drum Synth Array. But it does a lot more than drums. As you heard, you can use it as a synthesizer, and like I said, even a polyphonic synthesizer. We're not set up to do that right now. We could set it up with the CVOCD, but it would take a while, and you don't want to watch me set that up and go into HTML. It's a time suck for sure. If you're interested in picking up the Modbap Trinity or the Modbap Hue, we have them in stock right now at Patchwerks here in Seattle. You can just go online to patchwerks.com and go ahead and order one. It is Black Friday sale right now, so look for some deep discounts on certain items, but 10% off everything in the shop right now other than used items and some select stuff. But these should be on sale in our Black Friday sale, so if you're interested in picking them up, now's the time to do it. Along with all these other modules. So if you want to make some techno and some IDM like we did today, go ahead and pick these suckers up and introduce them to your case and have them meet all your other friendly modules, because it will be a good time. I had a really great time this stream. I'm very pleased with how this turned out. I'm very pleased with the Modbap Trinity and the Hue. Like I said, this would be really cool with 3 hues, I think. These individual outputs processing each separately, although you do have some similar parameters already built into the Trinity, so you don't technically need the hue. We could use the hue on something else. This would probably be a really nice friend to Beehive, or just another synthesizer module that you have for doing some cool processing of a melodic sound, rather than processing a whole drum bus like we were doing during the stream. But you can do whatever you like. That's the best part about modular. All right, so as far as events go, I like to talk about events while we're doing the stream. As far as events go, look forward to your holiday next month. But we'll be having another Modbang event, Modbang, which is this cable company here, and the hat that I'm wearing. And Modbang puts on a live electronic music event at the Icebox Arcade every month, sometimes featuring some of your favorite Patchwerks employees, but also just local musicians and or any musicians that happen to join in on that event. This next one will be December 27th at 7 p.m. Look forward to that at the Icebox Arcade in Fremont, Washington. And maybe I'll start streaming that event. I haven't gotten around to setting that up yet, but I think that would be pretty cool to do. So as far as events go, that's what you can look forward to. It is Black Friday, so take advantage of getting some stuff while you can at some more affordable prices, and have fun. I'm Matthew from Patchwerks, aka EZBOT. I will see you all next Friday. Or no, I won't see you next Friday. I'll see you the Friday after that. Steven will be filling in for me next Friday, but I'll see you in 2 weeks. Have a great one.